This is the form that you will see once you log into the information for non-filers. When you click the link, the IRS is assuming that you did not need to file a tax return, and it pulls up this simplified form. This is after you've already created a user ID and you got the verification code by text message or by email and you're completely logged in. It pulls up a simplified code. It's not a simplified form. It's not a tax return. It's a form that is great for people who have no income or are under the threshold, and they're single or they're married filing jointly. Married filing jointly is that they are married to a U.S. citizen who has a social security number, and single would be single anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, even if they didn't tell anything to the U.S. about ever getting married. So single is single, single everywhere. If you are married to someone who is not a U.S. citizen, then you can't use this form. You can't e-file. So for somebody who is actually single or married filing jointly, you put in your first name, your middle initial, your last name, and your social security number. Don't use this form if your spouse has a U.S. taxpayer ID. If you're filing with your spouse, you're going to put in your spouse's first name, middle initial, last name, and social security number. Use your address. This needs to be an address where you could potentially get a check. Even if you are inputting your banking information, I strongly recommend use an address where you could still get a check if the direct deposit doesn't go through. So you're going to put in your full home street address, apartment number if relevant, your city. The state is only if you're in the U.S., your foreign country if you're not in the U.S. This is only if you have a foreign state or county. In most cases, you can leave that blank, and your foreign postal code. Then if you have dependents who have U.S. Social Security numbers, you can include them here. If you have more than 4, you can click here. This, again, is only relevant for dependents with social security numbers, and there's really no point in including anybody who was over the age of 17 because they're not going to get it. If they're borderline, go ahead and put them in and see what happens if you're not really sure what year it applies to. But if you have your 20-year-old is living with you and let's say they're in university and you're supporting them and whatever, there's really no point in including them here. You're not going to get money for them. And if they are eligible to be claimed as your dependent, they also aren't. They also can't get their own money. So there is a good segment of the population, students and elderly people who are claimed on someone as a dependent or can be claimed as a dependent that just can't get this money. Then you're going to put in your routing number and account number. And this is only if you have a U.S. account. As far as I understand, the IRS will not deposit money to a foreign account. You're welcome to try it, but as far in all of my experience, this must be a U.S. routing number and a U.S. account number to a U.S. bank account. Most likely that account needs to be in your own name. It's possible if the person shares your last name, it'll still go through. I don't know. You're welcome to try it, but as far as I know, it should be your own account. You must select checking or savings. That's actually important. I've heard of the direct deposits not going through if that's incorrect. The identity protection PIN is only if you have an identity protection PIN. If you don't know what it is, there's a good chance you don't have one and you can leave it blank. You would have one if the IRS suspected identity theft and they sent one to you, or if you applied for one. This is something that you need a new one every single year. Hopefully you don't need it and you can leave it blank. And then you would continue to step 2. The first thing you're going to put in is last year's AGI. In most cases, if you're using this form, it's because you didn't file a tax return in 2018. So this is going to be 0. You would just put in 0 there. And if you're filing jointly with your spouse, you would put 0 for that person. If you're not filing jointly, you leave that blank. You can also use last year's 5-digit PIN. If you filed with an accountant, there's a good chance that 5-digit PIN is the last 5 digits of your social security number. You can use one or the other. You can ask your accountant. But again, if you file a tax return in 2018, you probably don't need to do this form because you're supposed to be getting the refund automatically. Then you electronically sign. you use the today's date and cell phone number. I have not tried it without a cell phone number. You're welcome to try it if you have a foreign cell phone. It does work with just about any number that is the right amount of digits. It works with just about any number that's the right amount of digits. So when I did it, I used the foreign phone number and I just took off the country code and it fits and it went through. You're not going to get a text message, but that's okay. You're going to get an email. You need to choose your own 5-digit PIN. Again, most people are using the last 5 digits of their social security number, but you're welcome to pick your own. You put in your own date of birth. This is part of verifying your ID. And if you have a U.S. driver's license, you put that information in here. If you don't have a U.S. driver's license, then you don't need to put anything in here. You can just go ahead without it, and it'll still go through. I haven't actually put in all the information, so I can't actually continue to e-file, but that is an option. I've done it before. You continue to e-file. It's going to pop up a CAPTCHA, and then that will go through. If it doesn't pop up a CAPTCHA, it may pop up something saying you're missing information. You go, you figure out what you're missing, you try again, you put in the CAPTCHA, and then it'll pop up something that you need to read and say that you agree, and then it'll go through. Something else will pop up saying that you have filed, and you should also get an email.